You think when you heard she died?
I had no idea. I was at the beach in Malibu.
Renowned actress Jane Russell enchanted audiences with her personality and breathtaking good looks. The life story of Russell, who began her career in Howard Hughes's controversial picture The Outlaw and went on to play opposite Marilyn Monroe in Gentlemen Prefer Blondes, is an intriguing and illuminating look inside the golden era of Hollywood. In this article, we will go into Russell's life outside of show business, including her friendship with Marilyn Monroe, her family, and her thoughts on Monroe's renowned career. What, though, were the hidden truths underneath her stunning exterior? Come along as we explore the life of the legendary Jane Russell, a genuine star of Hollywood. Russell rose to prominence in the 1940s and 1950s as one of Hollywood's most alluring leading ladies before her meeting with Monroe. She appeared in more than 20 films and was acclaimed for her breathtaking good looks, unique figure, and mesmerizing stage presence. Her performances were marked by an intense sense of gravity and charm. But Russell was more than just a stunning actress. She was a brilliant pioneer who changed Hollywood forever. Marilyn Monroe and Russell's lives crossed paths on the set of Gentlemen Prefer Blondes. A lifelong friendship was forged between the two actresses. Through the ups and downs of celebrity, they discovered solace in one another's presence, sharing hopes, secrets, and jokes. The yin and yang of Russell's seductive elegance and Monroe's fragile attractiveness created an irreplaceable friendship that would last a lifetime. However, there was a young Ernestine Jane Geraldine Russell before the limelight, celebrity, and mythical status befell Monroe and Russell, who had a profound bond. Geraldine and Roy William Russell welcomed their first child, a girl, into the world on June 21, 1921, in Bemidji, Minnesota. Thomas, Kenneth, Jimmy, and Wallace were her four brothers, and she was their older sister. Russell was born 3 years after his parents' wedding in Kalamazoo, Michigan. Up until Russell was born, they lived in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. She was returned to Edmonton, where she spent her first year or two of life not long after her arrival. Russell had the character of a free spirit and a daring tomboy when he was a kid. She had an infectious smile, a mop of curly hair, and spent her youth playing tricks on her brothers, adventuring through the woods, and fantasizing about distant worlds. The parents of Russell were, as it turned out, a fascinating duo. Being a first lieutenant in the U.S. Army, her dad had quite the tale to tell about his time in the military. Even former President Woodrow Wilson was captivated by the famous image of her mother, a gifted actress who had been a member of a touring theater troupe painted by Mary Bradish Tatum. They packed up and moved to sunny Southern California to escape the monotony of city life as their family expanded. While living in California with her dad, who was an office manager, Russell found her calling in the performing arts, fashion, and interior design. She wanted to be a fashion designer while she was growing up, but her parents got her into piano lessons. At Van Nuys High School, she was even in the school plays. Although Russell appeared to be heading in the correct direction, fate intervened. When graduating, Russell chose to follow in her dad's footsteps and became a receptionist when he passed away in his mid-40s. But it wasn't the end of her inventiveness. Her mother pushed her to pursue acting, and she soon found herself posing for photographers. Her rise to fame started when Russell enrolled in studies at the illustrious Max Reinhardt's theater workshop and worked with the famous actress and coach Maria Uspenskaya. The wildly unpredictable path to popularity for Jane Russell began with her relocation from the Midwest to California. Howard Hughes, a multi-billionaire director, got things ugly when he had a special bra made for her to wear in one of his films. The bra would go on to symbolize her seductive image. Although that was only the beginning. The Outlaw, a 1943 contentious picture starring Russell that she co-starred with Howard Hughes, caused a sensation, led to the film's prohibition, and cemented Russell's reputation as an edgy and alluring actress. With his unforgettable gun-wielding and haystack-reclining attitude, Russell will live on in the classic poster of The Outlaw, the final remaining sight of that groundbreaking picture. There were two good reasons why men go to see her, And that's enough, according to Howard Hughes, a famous figure in her life and career. Russell's height of 5 feet 7 inches and her measurements of 38-24-36 gave her a more statuesque appearance than many of her contemporaries in the acting industry. In the meantime, Russell's career began to take a musical turn when she became a member of the Kay Kaiser Orchestra and made her radio debut with Columbia Records. She released a few singles and an album called Let's Put Out the Lights, but she later said the album was terrible and boring to listen to. For Columbia Records, she also collaborated with Frank Sinatra and the Modernaires on the single Kisses and Tears. But it was her 1948 role as Calamity Jane opposite Bob Hope in The Paleface that really reignited her career. The picture was a financial success, earning $4 million. After her first success, Russell landed the lead role in Montana Belle in 1948. However, the film's distribution was moved from Republic Pictures to RKO, and it was released in 1952 under Howard Hughes, who had acquired RKO Pictures. Russell continued to work with Hughes, but not all of her projects were successful. For example, in 1951 she was in Double Dynamite, a musical comedy starring Groucho Marx and Frank Sinatra, but it was a critical and commercial flop. Russell continued to collaborate with Hughes and appeared in The Las Vegas Story, which had Victor Mature and Vincent Price as stars, and Ma and Pa Kettle at Home, which had Robert Mitchum as leads. Neither of these films did well at the box office, and the extensive reshoots that were required due to Hughes's involvement caused financial losses. Paramount, however, saw potential in Russell and cast her in Son of the Paleface in 1952, a sequel to the successful The Paleface. This project further solidified her standing in Hollywood. In 1953, she made a memorable appearance in Road to Bali, but probably her most iconic role came when she played Dorothy Shaw in Gentlemen Prefer Blondes, starring alongside Marilyn Monroe. This role cemented Russell's status as a Hollywood icon and showcased her versatility as an actress. The success of Gentlemen Prefer Blondes was a game-changer for Russell, bringing in over $5 million and marking her biggest hit since The Outlaw. The French Line, a musical in which she sullied in a steamy number while looking for trouble in a daring bathing suit with eye-catching cutouts, was her second picture with Hughes. The picture grossed $3 million, despite causing a stir, and Hughes tried his hand at an adventure flick with Underwater, starring Russell and Richard Egan. Unfortunately, the picture bombed at the box office, and Russell's association with Hughes ended in February 1954, when their contract was terminated. Foxfire, with its mixed reviews, failed to match the success of Russell's earlier hits and brought in only $2 million. In the same year, 20th Century Fox released Tall Men, in which she co-starred with the legendary Clark Gable. The picture was one of the highest-grossing films of the year, earning a respectable $6 million. Russell Field Productions kept cranking out projects such as Gentlemen Marry Brunettes, a sequel to Gentlemen Prefer Blondes in 1955. Although it didn't quite live up to its predecessor, the production house continued to branch out into other areas of the industry, producing films like The King and Four Queens, starring Eleanor Parker and Clark Gable, and Run for the Sun, starring Richard Widd, in the same year. In spite of this setback, Jane Russell's influence on Hollywood persisted, a tribute to her extraordinary skill and versatility as an actress and singer. Russell dabbled in Christian music and formed a gospel quartet with 3 other members of the Hollywood Christian group. The original quartet consisted of Connie Hayes, Barl Davis, and Della Russell. Connie was an experienced singer who had contributed to orchestras conducted by Harry James and Tommy Dorsey. Barl was an immigrant from Britain who had gained notoriety for entertaining American soldiers during World War II. Della, who was married to Andy Russell, completed the quartet. With the help of an orchestra conducted by Lynn Murray, their single "Do Lord" soared to fame. The musical partnership continued with Jane Russell, Connie Hayes, and Barl Davis, even when Della Russell left. Capitol Records released a trio LP by the group called The Magic of Believing, further solidifying their place in Christian music. In 1953, as the crew and Russell got ready for another day of filming on the musical comedy Gentlemen Prefer Blondes, the set was bustling with activity. Meanwhile, young Marilyn Monroe was just starting to make waves in the industry. As luck would have it, the two actresses were about to co-star in the upcoming musical comedy. Russell, known for her sharp wit and kind heart, noticed Monroe's nervous energy as she arrived on set. Still finding her footing in Hollywood, Monroe was intimidated by Russell's polished star power. Seeing that Monroe was nervous, Russell decided to break the ice herself. Approaching Monroe with a warm smile, she introduced herself and welcomed her to the team. Monroe, taken aback by Russell's kindness, responded with the film opened with a burst of Technicolor brilliance. Monroe and Russell, clad in their snug red sequin dresses, stole the show against a shimmering blue curtain. They commanded the stage from the very beginning, proving their dominance and avoiding the typical movie formalities by introducing themselves without the need for titles. Russell kindly took Monroe under her wing, providing guidance and support as they worked together on the film. As they did intricate dance numbers, sang iconic songs, and shared happy moments on set, their connection grew into a beautiful and lasting bond that would endure. Their friendship began from that moment on. Despite the media's efforts to create an antagonistic relationship between the two actresses, Russell, who was known for her authenticity and practicality, welcomed Monroe into her friendship and stood by her during rehearsals, offering solace and guidance on managing her romance with professional baseball player Joe DiMaggio. The closeness of Russell's relationship with Marilyn Monroe was the subject of much speculation over the years. Rumors circulated that Monroe teased Russell about trying to convert her to religion while she introduced Russell to Freudian ideas. However, Russell later clarified that she wasn't advocating for Monroe's conversion. In fact, she didn't even see Christianity as a religion. Regardless, Russell made an unannounced appearance on The Praise Show. Russell was first captivated by Monroe's beauty, but as they worked together, she began to see more of her sensitive and reserved side. At one point during filming, she was shocked to overhear actor Tommy Noonan making an insensitive comment about Monroe's mental health, implying that she was crazy and unstable. This comment deeply hurt Russell, and she was distraught and troubled. Despite her own experiences with the objectification and misogyny of some men in the industry, Russell refused to accept that Monroe had committed. Instead, she suspected foul play, suggesting that Monroe's ties to the influential Kennedy brothers may have played a role in her tragic downfall. Russell spilled the beans about Monroe's life plans, which included a possible marriage to Joe DiMaggio and a lucrative movie contract. But Russell also said that Monroe's ties to Jack and Bobby Kennedy could have led to a dangerous web of secrets and deceit. The Kennedy brothers' intense love for Monroe, according to Russell, could have turned sinister, maybe leading to a tragic confrontation that ended in her death. After Monroe passed away, Russell had a tense encounter with Bobby Kennedy, who appeared angry and agitated when she was around. Nevertheless, Russell refused to reveal details about her own relationships, including her rumored involvement with Howard Hughes and her confirmed relationship with because she was so loyal to her friend and so skeptical of the circumstances surrounding Monroe's death. Russell continued to believe throughout her life that Marilyn Monroe did not die by, and she turned to alcohol as a coping mechanism after dealing with the sorrow of Monroe's death. Eventually, she sought help through rehabilitation. Among Russell's many deeply held beliefs was her position on abortion. She characterized herself as strongly pro-life, but what many did not realize was that this position was deeply personal. When Russell was 18 years old, she had a botched abortion that left her unable to have children, which greatly affected her position on reproductive rights. Despite this, she sought love, and her journey to it was anything but smooth, leading her to walk down the aisle 3 times. In 1943, she married Bob Waterfield. They adopted a baby girl named Tracy. Later that year, they welcomed a 15-month-old boy named Thomas. Russell was determined to give Thomas a better life. His birth mother, Hannah McDermott, had fled poverty in Northern Ireland and came to London to escape it. While this was going on, Russell and her first husband Waterfield started Russell Field Productions in 1953. In March 1954, they signed a deal with United Artists for 6 films, but Russell was only going to appear in 3. During this time, she had a notable role in Foxfire in 1955 at Universal Studios, co-starring with Jeff Chandler, and she earned a handsome $200,000 for her performance. In 1956, they welcomed a 9-month-old boy named Robert John into their family. Nevertheless, Russell's life was not without controversy. In Philomena, a character claimed that Russell had paid €1,000 to adopt a child from an Irish orphanage. A later report clarified the situation, showing that Russell and her husband had informally adopted a son from a woman in London. This unconventional adoption caused a major scandal and resulted in legal proceedings. Russell's profound devotion to family and adoption led her to found WAIF, an organization that helped place children with loving families and pioneered the idea of international adoptions by Americans. After a long marriage to Robert Waterfield, Russell began an affair with Raj Barrett, a childhood friend with whom she had a strong bond. Though Waterfield insisted he was faithful, Russell found out he had an affair with his secretary, and they divorced in July 1968. Russell's desire to help children find loving homes came from her own experiences, and she admitted to having an affair with Barrett while still married to Waterfield. Never one to wallow in self-pity, Russell rekindled her love life within 2 months of her divorce by saying, "I do," to actor Roger Barrett. Their brief romance was tragically ended in November 1968 when Barrett died of a heart attack. However, love eventually returned to Russell when she met real estate broker John Calvin Peoples. The couple wed on January 31, 1974, and lived through many highs and lows until John's death from heart failure on April 9, 1999. In the years leading up to John's death, Russell and John ventured to Sedona, Arizona, to test the waters of the nightlife scene. Russell even revived her old nightclub act for the Sedona crowd. But they ultimately settled down in Santa Maria, California, where they spent most of their married life. Russell returned to television, appearing in a plethora of series including Colgate Theater, Westinghouse Playhouse, and Death Valley Days. Among her notable roles was starring in the 1960 Death Valley Days episode Splinter Station and making an appearance on the Red Skelton Hour. When asked about leaving the film industry, Russell cited the ageism that often marginalized older actresses. Despite this, her impact on popular culture was palpable, as shown by references to her in shows like The Honeymooners and Maude, usually in comedic contexts. For example, in a memorable episode of The Honeymooners, Ralph Cramden jokes about attending a party hosted by Russell, presenting her as a glamorous icon. Similarly, in an episode of Maude, she appeared as a guest star. Russell's outstanding career spanning several decades came to a close with her final on-screen appearance in an episode of Hunter. Despite a decrease in film visibility, she continued to make her mark through guest appearances on television and memorable roles in various productions. During this period, Russell made infrequent film appearances, showcasing her versatility across genres. Her notable roles included Fate is the Hunter, Johnny Reno, and Darker Than Amber. Russell made her Broadway debut in the musical drama company, walking into the role of Joanne. Her performance garnered rave reviews, highlighting her impressive talent across different artistic domains. Among her many accomplishments, Russell became the face of Playtex bras in television commercials, which resonated with women seeking support and comfort. Staying true to her roots, she wrote her autobiography, Russell, My Way and My Directions, which gave readers a glimpse into her life and career. In 1989, for her many contributions to the entertainment industry, Russell received the Women's International Center Living Legacy Award, a distinguished honor that solidified her status as an iconic figure. Today, at Grauman's Chinese Theater, we can still see the imprints of Russell's hand and footprints, as well as a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, commemorating her contributions to Hollywood. Russell's character has been portrayed in numerous films and TV shows and her influence and legacy live on through them. For example, in 2001, Renee Henderson played Blonde, the CBS miniseries based on Joyce Carol Oates' novel. In 1996, Russell co-starred with Marilyn Monroe in the HBO film Norma Jean and Marilyn, further solidifying her place in cinematic history. In the end, the world said goodbye to the icon on February 28, 2011, when Russell passed away. Her death was the end of an era, and she left behind a legacy that will be forever etched in the annals of cinematic history. Russell often lamented the lack of creative fulfillment she felt while working with male directors and actors, and she often wished for the chance to work with a female director like George Cukor. In the wake of her passing, many paid tribute to her acting, directing, and fandom accomplishments in the entertainment industry. Outside of the limelight, Russell was a powerful advocate, particularly in the area of adoption, which she held in high regard because of her own infertility struggles. In the 1950s, she established the World Adoption International Fund to raise global awareness of adoption. Later in life, she became the face of Playtex Bras, where she promoted body positivity and was an inspiration to women everywhere. Even though her children didn't pursue a career in show business like Jane Russell did, they were steadfast in their support of her and her legacy. As they grew up in the glitter of Hollywood, they forged their own paths away from the limelight. But they never wavered in their commitment to their mother, who they revered, and whose teachings will be passed down through the generations. Your time here is appreciated. Until our next video.